Okay, I think we are recording. Thank you very much for joining. Welcome to the first of our sort of HSC book clubs. This time round, we were looking at the book "The Mountain Is You" by Brianna Veast. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to learn the name. Desi's just told me how to pronounce it, and I've instantly forgotten. So I'm doing my best. I'm so sorry. Um, but basically, I think it's a really, really brilliant book. There's so many themes and so many things I think we'll be able to dig into here. But it really, I find this one quite bizarrely hard hitting at times, which probably means it's exactly the sort of thing I should read. And I typically find I've actually read this twice. Once a very long time ago, and then once more recently. And both times I've read it, I've started thinking the first few sort of examples they give, I'm sat there like, this isn't me. This isn't me. No, maybe I won't get anything from this. And then something just some kind of like penny drops, or I'm in the car and then something hits me that I read a little while ago. And yeah, no, definitely, I should definitely read more things like this. But I feel like it's one of those things you kind of have to take a bit of time to digest it. But yeah, how did you guys find it?
I guess it was there were some things that I'm like that doesn't relate to me at all, but like you said, then others you're like, oh, this is so true, this is me, and then you're trying to almost I feel like sometimes fit yourself in a box, and that's where this book I feel like you need to do it in little chunks. You can't just read it in one go.
Yes, I definitely found like I had to do, yes, shorter stints than I might usually with another book.
Absolutely. I really liked it. I thought I've got a little some notes upstairs when I get in. I really enjoy it and I found like I think it's helpful as a coach as well to be able to kind of identify things that clients will be feeling, but also just how some of it was so obviously simple. It's just reframing things. Like I think there was a part where it was like was it on about regret or different emotions? And it's like regret isn't a bad thing. It's just telling you that next time something happens, you need to do it differently. I can't remember the exact examples that it gave, but it was really kind of obvious. And I liked how it just laid out if you feel like this, you could do this.
Yeah, gives you, it always feels really practical, the way that you could
Yes.
then do something positive and not sort of let something like that take more of your time, more of your capacity and sort of limit you more.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm getting my notes now.
I
I've
think
got a
it is.
little one
Also,
more page book.
Ah, I love it.
So
I think a lot of it is that we're meant to have these instincts to question things or have anxiety. Like anxiety isn't a bad thing; it's only when we can't control it. And I think that's where it goes through a lot of things where we're meant to have it. We're meant to question ourselves, but then obviously not question ourselves so much we then don't do things. So I think it's understanding that we're meant to have that process in.
Yeah, that the feelings and thoughts like that, they're trying to tell you something. There's a reason why we have them. They're giving you really valuable feedback, but it doesn't mean that you have to become them. Like it's giving you, it's like a tool. It's giving you some information, but it's not. It doesn't have to
mhm.
shape your entire world. And if it has, then this is probably a really good book to help you kind of unpick it a bit.
Yeah, I found the bit on regret. It said regret teaches us how to move forward. So like turning things into lessons. That was a little note that I put down. I really liked it.
And I think I really liked, I think it was a similar part to that, or at least it was reiterated again at a similar part to that. Um, the idea of um really being quite good at questioning yourself and sort of really sort of digging in deeper. I'm gonna have to go plug my laptop in. I didn't realize I hadn't. I'll be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah, all
I can talk.
good.
So I guess we can go back to the beginning of the book. Is more like what is self sabotage because that's kind of what the book is about. So
Mhm.
I wrote down about like the definition is basically it's a subconscious need or a protective mechanism that we do self sabotage to an extent. It's not
Yeah.
that we're lazy or that we're weak or that we can't do it, we're not disciplined, all these kind of words. But
Mhm.
kind of what it came up with ways that we might see self sabotage because sometimes we don't think about it is resistance, so delaying doing something, or that fear of actually committing, attaching. I guess I'm sure we've got well, let's go on resistance, delaying things. What do we normally see as, I guess, coaches or in this realm?
I think a lot of people will say that they are perfectionists, but actually they are procrastinating, and procrastinating is self-sabotage.
Yeah.
That's
That was
my
actually the
answer.
next
To
one
be fair,
anyway.
yeah.
So, yeah, the second, so it was resistant perfectionism and attachment to what you don't want, or guilt of succeeding. So perfectionism, setting impossible high standards, almost leading to that paralysis. That unless I hit this, I'm not going to be good enough. Um, I guess how many people say that if I don't hit this weight, it's
Yeah.
all over.
Yeah, and that's again, I think, where like if we're putting this in the coaching world, people will say like they just won't do something through fear of either failure or success, because it's like, if I fail then I look stupid. If I succeed, then what do I work towards then, because then I've done the thing. So although we always talk about fear of failure, I think that fear of succeeding is something that isn't spoken about, but it's definitely a thing.
Yeah,
And
no,
actually,
definitely. Sorry.
it came up about no, I remember that in part of it, it came up with when you hit your target, actually you get a crash. Like how many people that really thought of like post comp blues? You put so
Mm.
much time and effort and think, oh my god, like I've won, I've done my hit my goals, whatever it is, and then think, oh, I've made it now. Now what? So realizing it can happen. And that really that line obviously was nothing about competition, but all I thought was post comp blues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it fits very well, doesn't it? It makes a lot of sense. It kind of rationalizes something that we like all experience, but I think in when you're in the heat of it, can still feel it can feel turbulent.
Mm. It's a hard one to navigate, because it's like I said, it's not something people talk about. And I think there's also the connotation that if you say you're scared of success, there's a very British thing of like, oh, so you think you're going to be successful then? And people don't want that, which is so ridiculous, because why would we do things if we didn't want to be successful at it in the first place? But there's almost the fear of success, but then alongside that, the fear is being seen as wanting success or even thinking about it at all. Like, it's so complex and multi-layered.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's yeah, and I think we do. I think there was a part where it was talking about not preempting that, basically using yourself as the guide and not preempting what the world around you is. I think we do that. We kind of like try to like read the minds of everyone around us. We try to kind of preempt that all the time. How are we being perceived? And again, that comes down to there is obviously that's hardwired into us. That there's a reason why we do that. But if
Yeah.
you let it overrule what you want to do and you start then doing things and limiting yourself because of that, that's when it's gonna take over your world and not be
Mm.
yeah, you're gonna start limiting the way you do things or limiting your potential in so many ways.
I can't remember if
Yeah.
it was in this book or if it was something else I was reading or listening to at the same time. But
That's
it
right.
was saying, like, I think it was in this book, and it was like how you're stopping yourself doing things because you're worried about what other people think. But what you think other people think isn't actually what they're thinking, because everybody is only really thinking about themselves. So
They call it the
you're
spotlight
making,
effect.
yeah, you're making yourself have a bad day because of your perception of what someone else's perception of you is. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
And it was saying that's where I remember it was said about the spotlight effect. Like you
Yeah.
think all of us think about ourselves the majority time of the day, and then you think that everyone else thinks about you, but actually everyone's just thinking about themselves the amount you think about yourself. And
Yeah.
that if you recall that embarrassing thing that happened 10 years ago that creeps up on you in the middle of the
This is
night.
it.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then it's how many times. So let's say failing a lift. That's the most embarrassing thing that's going to happen at a comp. That if you drop X, Y, Z or you don't get it, how many times have you remembered someone else failing a lift and embarrassing themselves? That's what kind of really stuck out to me. You never recall that. You recall when someone's done something really well, but like I can't say, Chloe, I remember when you did this. Only what your really good things. So that was a good thing to like reframe it that way.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think we all
For
have a habit of giving those things far too much power and also preempting them. I think that goes back to that kind of that what you were saying, Desi, about and this applies probably more to like competitions, or it can in theory in just gyms, big lifts as well. I definitely have seen people do this where they very much told themselves if this doesn't work, or I'm putting myself out there. If it doesn't work, then it means something about me other than just it just wasn't the day. Um,
Mhm.
and actually, then you limit. Yeah, you're kind of don't. Yeah, I feel like the competition analogy is really good because I think a lot of people don't put themselves out there or pull themselves back out if they've signed up for things, um, because of that fear of well, what happens? What happens? Yeah, if it doesn't go right. But they haven't
Mhm.
really spent any time thinking about what happens if it does go right, and what happens if I love it, and what happens if I have fun, and yeah,
And the fact that nobody else gives a shit, in my famous words.
Gus agrees.
But just says, yeah, no one cares as much as we do because of that spotlight effect. So yeah, I'm glad it was in that book because I did also very much enjoy that.
And they called it the psychic effect as well. If you're preempting what someone else is thinking,
Yeah.
not what is happening right at the moment, like you can project back and forth, but nothing is as concrete as what's happening right now or what someone actually says to you. So I thought that was another way of if you call it like a psychic, like palm reading, how much is actually true or is it? So there.
Yeah, definitely. And even if it's something that you're caught, even if you're, I'm trying to think of a good example now. I had one and it's left my brain, but when I was reading it, there was when it's talking about specifically like almost willing something into existence that didn't need to be there, like you have an idea or a fear of something that might happen, and if you sort of think about it enough you'll kind of make it happen. And it was
Is it like a psychosomatic thinking that
well
you
I
can
think it's
almost bring on things because you're willing it or like you're trying to oh I'm going to trip up now you're almost going to make yourself trip up because you're I
basically
can't yeah
that.
I don't think it's automatic.
Yeah, no, basically that. I think the example I was thinking of was if for example you think like you're perceived in a certain way or you then might sort of restrict yourself from putting yourself out there and it kind of then becomes that sort of self-fulfilling thing a little bit. So if you're making decisions based on one of those assumptions or one of those sort of gut feelings that sometimes it might be steering you down the path that you're trying to avoid.
And
100%.
that goes into I kind of like I had like the sixth concept of the book. So I guess it's that what is the truth about self-sabotage? So it comes from your inner conflict of I think that I'm shy or I know I am bad at overhead and that's almost like wanting success but almost wanting that failure because that kind of links in with what you just said and fear that change to go out there and go into like a higher level comp that you're like pushing to opens or
Definitely. And I think the example of I'm bad at this lift is a really good one because the amount of times I do try and challenge that if I'm working with anyone, um, because you will just you won't pull the weight in the same way if you're telling yourself that you're shit at it, to be completely honest.
Hmm.
You'll kind of keep yourself, you'll hold yourself back rather than yeah, really give it what you need to, and then it kind of
Yeah.
self-fulfilling.
There was a really nice I don't it's not an exact quote, but something like I wrote down that I wanted to remember is that it was nothing is actually holding you back from what you want. It's only your fears, your thoughts, and your feelings. And I think that ties into exactly what we were just talking about, right? That you keep saying, oh, I can't do this, or this is X is stopping me from doing Y. But if you really wanted to do something, you would just do it. So while it might seem that things are in the way, often it's your thoughts and feelings about the things that are in the way that are stopping you from changing it.
Definitely. And I think the one that really kind of hits hard for me is letting go of the perfection, embracing things just as raw as they are. If you're doing it, then you're doing it rather than yeah, that kind of it doesn't have to be perfect. So sometimes I think you can hold yourself back.
Yeah.
oh, you've led on to another point. Emotional healing. Allow yourself to feel, let go, and move forward authentically.
That's also, it's
So,
like we planned it. No, that's really, really, yeah. I think that there were so many parts of the book that I feel like I don't remember the order of the book anymore because I've read it obviously in the order, but the way I've kind of processed bits and kind of linked bits, that's kind of where I've got the meaning from it, and therefore that's kind of happened in a completely different order.
and if I go back a step, so I completely understand this is where the way people will then start to perceive it is the different orders, but it's more so we've talked about self sabotage, but also how it looks to you. So, what is your sign of self sabotage? So, is it that negative talk of I'm going to fail this lift? I don't want to do my overhead session because I don't want to go in the gym, or I can only do it if I hit X weight. That perfectionist or resistance to even start like walk in the gym and do your session. So I
Mm.
guess is there anything you can recognise of when you might be self-sabotaging? What is your like trigger?
Mine's procrastination. Doing not so much like in the gym, I don't think, because I oh bye bye. I enjoy going in the gym to move, so it never feels like I have to procrastinate in that sense. But I definitely procrastinate a lot in work, like in business, if I'm worried that something won't be right or it won't be good enough or that I'm not as oh my god, sorry. Or that what I do won't be as good as what other people in the same industry maybe do. Um so that and that comparison again, like it's something that it doesn't weigh that heavy on me as much as it used to, especially in lifting. But it's definitely still there. So yeah, I think for me, self-sabotage shows up as putting things off.
That's interesting. For me, it's genuinely not just not speaking. I think that sometimes the example that came to mind was basically there was something, it was an event happening at one of the gyms that I sort of train at, but also work at a little bits here and there and sort of do classes and stuff. And I think I started preempting that that had ground to a halt because everyone had changed their minds. I actually now know it's because they'd all forgotten. And actually, I had not said anything about it because like, oh, clearly everyone's changed their minds. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. The second that I would just went in and went and just asked about it, it all got moving and it was sorted within a few days. And everyone was like, "Thank you for reminding us." And I think I do that sometimes. I feel like I'm basically presuming what people are thinking about a certain thing without actually putting myself out there. And I think, to be honest, the deep little root thing for me is that I feel like I'm annoying. I don't know why. I feel like I am, so I don't want to then be annoying, but then I'm not. I know it's fine. But yeah, I actually kind of put that one into practice this week after having sort of read the book and thought, let's just see how this goes. And yeah, strangely enough, everyone went, oh yeah, we were going to do that. That's a really good idea. Let's do that. And now it's happening. Um, but yeah, definitely that thought. That's the one I need to kind of challenge.
It's actually really similar to mine. It's that fear of it not being good enough, isn't it? That like I'm annoying, or either I'm not good enough, it's not good enough. What will people think? That's the either staying quiet, they're not doing the thing.
Definitely. And okay, so I'm well aware I've been terrible on any kind of like social media advertising and just putting myself out there as an athlete as well. I'm well aware. I have ghosted the world. And I realized that especially when it came to I've got plenty of ideas and material, and I've even like I've not just got basically content made. I've got whole podcasts that are literally recorded, edited, ready to go. Haven't done it, and I feel like yeah, that last little bit takes me a little while to kind of get my brain over that. And one thing I have been doing, obviously I'm moving soon, very very exciting, but we'll have a space that we can have a home gym, which would be great. So I kept telling myself, well, I can't record anything content wise now because I'll have a better space and it will look better. So I'll just put it off. And I feel like that's one of those really dangerous things to fall into because you're kind of saying, well, I'll be able to do it when this happens. And actually,
It'll be perfect when.
You're
yeah,
self-sabotaging.
just do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Mm,
How about you, Desi?
I feel like I'm between like that avoidance and perfectionism. I avoid because I'm not going to be perfect. So for me, it'll be very much like in the gym. I would just sit in the car park and I can't get out of the car because I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do this. What if I don't get it right? What if I'm not able to do this cue that, like, if I can do either things automatically, and I tell Chloe all the time, I've just forgot how to deadlift because I get to a point where I'm like, can't even process where it came from. And that's where I guess it's almost that intuition that it talked a lot about, like what gut feeling is, actually gut feeling being a real thing, but actually trusting the, it sounds what's the word, cheesy, but like you trust the process, and that's where sometimes your body's like, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
And it's that intrusive thought of how much can you like quieten it down. And what was quite interesting as well, it was saying that actually intellectual people are sometimes more of a problem with it, because the higher your IQ, the more you challenge things and actually can make a concept real, one that you've made up in your head, but you can actually make it more real because you've got more like 3D thinking. So sometimes, and that's not saying if you're smart you're going to do this, but actually challenge yourself, like when to stop.
Yeah.
And it went on about like obviously that homeostasis, and that's where I never thought of it in a mental capacity. I never thought obviously in a very like sort your diabetes out and homeostasis,
Yeah.
but actually trying to blend the good, like the intrusive thoughts and give it a counter so it balances. So how much you get this evil one because you can think about it, then how do I reason something positive?
That's it. If you can be analytical in a negative sense, why can't you challenge
Yeah.
that thought as well?
Yeah.
I really like your, what was it, seeing triggers and glimmers. I really like that, and I thought of that when you said that. I thought that back to that homeostasis.
Yeah, it was, oh my God. It was I think it's in a book. I can't remember the author. I've seen it online, but I've borrowed it because I love it so much. In that we spend our whole, this dog is so clingy today. It's ridiculous. What? So we
Are you hiding in the bathroom as well?
No, I'm on the landing because I needed to charge my phone. So, yeah, and the fact that we always like look for the worst, and we look for things that are going to trigger us or make us feel anxious or make us feel sad or upset. We listen to sad songs to make us feel worse. Why don't we ever look for like actually the good things? And gratitude is obviously something we do in HSC in the check-ins, but like, why do we not do that daily and just like looking for good things? And I've noticed with my lift your limits work, I get everybody to do this, and what people like always say is I'm spending more of my day looking for nice things, and that automatically makes my day better. Even when I'm having a bad day, I know I need to write something down, so I'm still looking for it. And that's, it's such a simple shift of like, oh, actually, I'm just going to look for something nice in my day. Like, my nice thing now is just having this little guy just hanging out with me. That's a glimmer. But if I look at my day through that lens, it's been a good day because I got this little guy. Like, it's so simple.
I know what you mean. It's so simple, but it's hard. And I think it's one of those things, the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. If you just can make it
Yes.
a habit. And I liked the way um the book was talking about if you are going to make shifts and you want to sort of change your patterns, find ways to make them sort of gradual and that they will stick and build really good patterns, whether that be stacking habits or find ways that I will actually make them stick rather than trying to like overhaul everything in one go because the chances are it probably won't, it won't last. Basically, it's not sustainable.
That was another thing in my book, another quote that I wrote down. Like, big thing, like, life doesn't change with big epiphanies, it changes by tiny micro shifts. And that's it, isn't it? It absolutely does.
I had that written down too.
Look at us. I was so worried I was going to be bad at book club. I've loved it.
Yeah, and it was. I think that's where, just to make it, like, give the example, it was saying like reading a book. It says read 10 pages a day on like Be the 5 Minute Manager or whatever it is, but actually reading one page is all you need to do.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in fairness, with a
And
book like
it's
this,
like,
sometimes what you said, those smaller chunks probably better anyway.
Yeah. Exercising, go around the block for a walk. Simple.
Yeah, just get moving. Just yeah, if you're just not sat down stationary, just yeah, get on moving. You probably feel better for it as well.
Mm-hmm. I watching the Rugby World Cup, of course, now I want to play in the PWR. So Matt bought me a rugby ball, and today we played pass in the gym. So that's my small thing a day to become a international rugby superstar.
I thought I saw a very good tackle as well.
Yes, yes, I'm learning. He said we can't tackle in the gym. You need to be on grass.
Proper. Oh, I think if we lost Desi.
It's probably maybe battery died or something. I'm guessing she'll be back.
Ah, cool.
But
Okay.
yeah, I think I like that little shifts because we do, and I think especially like I think a lot of our athletes as well in the team expect to be fantastic at something straight away or want to be an international level competitor straight away, which I think Instagram makes it seem like you can be because you follow all the international level athletes. So you start thinking that's just normal, whereas actually people are progressing, and even when it seems like they're not, like look at what your working set was this week compared to last, or the little tiny things. Okay, so what were you lifting at the start of this block compared to the start of last block? You can see those little shifts, and that's where you're like, I am achieving things.
Yeah, and I love being a coach because you get to be kind of like, almost like loads of different people at
Yeah,
any one time. And quite often, I find, especially if someone's had like a bad session or they feel like they've had not a great session, I just get to repeat back to them things that they've told me they've done in the past or things that they told me in the session, but they did at the beginning of the session and they sort of had forgotten by something later down the line. And
yeah,
often just hearing, but more or less their own words back. They might not even realize I've probably repeated their own words back to them or but like the things that they've highlighted themselves. It's
hmm,
interesting how often hearing what you've already acknowledged on some level back can shift your mindset, even though you were the one that you were the one that came up with it in the first place.
yeah. I said to someone, I had one of my clients recently had a competition performance that they weren't super happy with. They were a little bit disappointed at elements of it. And I said to them, okay, what would you 1 year ago have said about your performance today? And they were like, oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
And even and that's it. This book really, and everything we've spoken about today is just perspective, isn't it?
Definitely. I don't think it was his book at all, but I once read a line that was something on the lines of, if you think that you haven't made any progress, ask yourself, would you swap places with yourself a year ago? And if the answer's no, then you've made progress. And
Yeah,
I quite like that.
yeah, and because you are always moving forward, aren't you? Just don't realize it.
Yeah, sometimes it can feel slow, and then you start telling yourself it's not going anywhere, but then yeah, you'll see the rewards eventually.
Powerful. Welcome back, Desi.
Sorry, guys. Internet is not my friend.
Oh no, we only have 3 minutes left anyway before it's going to kick us out. So hopefully this is probably not a bad time to round up. But actually, on the whole perspective of like perception change, one last thing. So both Desi and I entered the OSG qualifiers, and I believe there was two other people in the group that did as well, but we all got into the top 10. Obviously not official, but got into the top 10. And I think we had a chat. And literally, as we joined this meeting before I'd hit record, I said to Desi, I'm really sorry if I was really negative earlier. Because I think when I'd first seen it, because I think I had a certain image of like what the leaderboard would look like in my head, and it hadn't matched that for whatever reason. I was like, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. But obviously, speaking to Desi changed my perspective on that as well. But I've also spoken to other people who've had a completely different view of the whole situation. And I thought that was a good example because I was downplaying the fact that we've done something really cool. Um, I just thought it was a bit of a weekly topical example of yeah,
I'll
little
be in it to
shifts.
win it.
Yeah,
And if I go for a weekly topical, obviously the like Natural Strongman has put out the weights for the British League, and obviously there's been some really positive out there, but also some negative, saying that this shouldn't be a national standard to have this weight. But what we don't realise in our sport is how almost in a bubble, because you don't realise how strong you are. Like you go to a commercial gym, like how many people are really lifting over 100 kilos, and then obviously in this national league, it's still a beast of a weight. And I think it's that mindset, that intrusive thought because of the bubble we're in, but we don't realize that bigger picture. So yeah, we had that conversation with the qualifiers, like, oh, this shouldn't be enough weight to qualify, like almost embarrassed that. I don't know, I'm putting words in your mouth, but um,
Yeah.
but obviously you've got to be in it to win it. You've got to push yourself, if it is just that you're brave enough to put a score on the board, then actually that's your win.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Damn straight. Here, here.
Right, we have less than a minute. So I think I'll wrap it up there. But this, I think, has been really
Final
cool. Oh,
summary.
go for it.
I've
No, I meant
loved
you.
it. It's been fun.
Don't self-sabotage. Challenge your thoughts. You've got the group.
Exactly that. Use the group. I like that. We're all here. Anyway, I'll see you later, and I'll put the poll for the next
See
one
you
in
later.
in the chat.
Well, the
Thanks,
internet goes out.
Jen.
See you later.